Okay, I think everyone should be filtering in. We're just going to give it a couple of seconds, minutes, about a minute to get everyone in.
Great. Good to be here. Thanks for the invite, folks. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, likewise, Vanessa, looking forward to this show. This is the grand finale, as we call it. We left the best to last. I will wait a couple more minutes. Sorry, about another minute or so. We've got about 29 people out of the 95 who've registered interest so far. I think it's going up.
Brilliant. Great.
Excellent. Okay. Here we go. Lots more people. Right. I shall kick off at 1:32. So hurry up and get in.
Awesome. How do we keep a track on the polls that Alicia is going to be posting?
They will appear on the chat. They will also flash up on the screen. So throughout this meeting, we're going to be posting about 7 to 8 polled questions just to keep the engagement up and kind of gauge an idea as to the general understanding people have on AI and what tools they use, etc. So do keep an eye out for those and answer the questions when you do see them on your screen. We obviously are going to kick off now. We've got about 40 people in the room, so here we go.
Great.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kan. I'm the founder and CTO of Avensys Tech. Avensys was founded about 2 years ago with an ambition to bring good IT services to all SMEs and make technology affordable and accessible. We have with me on the call today Angela Pawar from Giacom, our Microsoft distributor, and Vanessa Raath, the talent hunter. I don't think I need to give any introductions to Vanessa because most of you probably know her, but we shall let them introduce themselves. Angela, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Thanks, Kan. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So as Kan has already mentioned, I am here to talk to you about everything Copilot, specifically Copilot agents. I am Microsoft Copilot specialist. So please stay tuned, drop your questions, and we'll try our best to answer them as well as we go through.
And Vanessa?
Cool. First of all, great to be here. Thank you for the invite. I'm basically here to throw a spanner in the works. I'm just kidding, Angela and Kan. But I'm here as the, should I say, recruitment expert to ask all the questions that we need to understand how do we use Copilot better from a recruiting perspective. So it's great to be here. I've enjoyed our last few sessions. And just on that, Kan, how do people access the previous sessions if they haven't been able to watch them?
Okay, so I am doing a what do you call it? An email out shortly within this week to everyone with the series of all the recordings. I've got to stitch things together because when we're presenting PowerPoint slides the way that we're doing at the moment, it doesn't capture the videos. So I'm going to have to do a bit of video editing, which isn't one of my strong points, but I hope to get this out to you guys within the week, basically.
Brilliant.
Excellent. So for those of you who haven't joined us on previous events, I just wanted to quickly run through what Microsoft 365 Copilot is. So Copilot is Microsoft's answer to ChatGPT and Gemini and whatever else that you may have used out there in the wild. Copilot sits inside your Microsoft environment, so has access to everything from your emails, to your Teams, to your documents and your SharePoint. So it is very kind of integrated, and you're using it for things like document reshaping or email drafting, or even recording and transcribing Teams meetings and doing summaries off of it. We discussed use cases like kind of build job descriptions out of calls you've had with your clients, or redraft the CV to a particular template, or even put together a PowerPoint presentation using Copilot. So those are some of the tasks. that Copilot can do. We went through in some of the previous sessions how it integrates with all of the other apps. And we did a session dedicated to Microsoft 365 and all of the other apps that you probably haven't heard of, like Planner, like Forms, like Bookings, and so on, and how Copilot can integrate with some of these. We spoke about Power Automate and how that can bring tremendous value by automating mundane tasks. And we touched briefly on how Copilot agents can interact with Power Automate to make life more interesting. So in today's session, Angela is going to take us through Copilot agents, which some of you may be familiar with from the GPT world, and how they can make a transformation into your workflows and perhaps reduce your workload. So without any further ado, off to you, Angela.
Sure. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So I'm going to be talking to you about Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio is included within the Microsoft 365 Copilot license. There is a premium version with more capabilities, which is the standalone Copilot Studio license. And then there's also a pay-as-you-go version. So there are different types of licensing that is available. So obviously, we can figure out what would be best suited to you. But essentially what Copilot Studio is to create agents. And what that is creating your own Copilot, make it more personalized to you. There's different aspects of it, okay? So I'm going to walk you through the spectrum of creating agents. So it goes from retrieval all the way to autonomous agents. So retrieval is basically, so say for example, I've actually got a demo on this already. So say for example, if you have got a new job opening for a client and you're trying to look through some CVs that you've already got for open to work, you can plug in those CVs to your agent, name it whatever you like. So when you're actually communicating with that specific agent, it's only going to the CVs that you've plugged in and nothing else. Whereas previously, when we spoke about Copilot, it accesses everything you have access to. It accesses things within SharePoint, OneDrive, your Teams messages, your emails. So it kind of gets rid of the noise, and you create an agent so it just looks at certain resources and nothing else. Okay, so that's a retrieval process. It's looking at certain CVs and it's giving it back to you. Whereas a task agent is, say for example, if you've got a master spreadsheet and you've got a new client that you're onboarding and you want to update that master spreadsheet, so you can, rather than you having to do it manually, you can just attach a PDF or an email with that information already embedded within it, and you can ask Copilot to update that master spreadsheet for you by adding a certain row, as long as all of the information is within that document, etc. So that's a task. You're still instructing Copilot to do something for you on your behalf. And then autonomous agents. Autonomous agents is basically you providing pre-instructions as to what this agent should do whilst you're doing something else. So for example, is if you're constantly getting emails come through saying, are there any job openings for HR manager at the moment in this area? Rather than you having to continuously reply back saying, no, we don't have any job openings at the moment, etc., then you can get Copilot to respond back on your behalf based on Copilot having a look at a certain resource or a certain website saying, actually, there isn't no job openings at the moment, so let me reply back and say there isn't. Or actually there is, let me reply back saying, yes, there is. And if you want to, you can apply to them. And it won't say it's from Copilot, it will say it's from you, but that's doing something autonomously without you having to do it yourself because you've already instructed it to continuously do that. It doesn't have to be emails. That's just one example. Maybe if you get an email that's high importance, that's been flagged red, you might want to get a Teams notification. That's autonomous. So you'll constantly get notifications come through. So these are different areas of creating agents. I'm going to be going through the retrieval process today, but as long as you know that it can go beyond that as well. There are pre-built agents already. So Microsoft has created one, for example, called Analyst Agent. So say, for example, you have two data sets, maybe two Excel spreadsheets that are, quite sporadic. There's a lot of critical information in there somewhere, and you just want to gain that information a lot more quickly, maybe in terms of what region is doing better than others, etc. You can dump those data sets into Analyst Agent, and maybe other things, maybe a website, maybe a PDF, any information or documents that you feel like is relevant against those data sets as well. And Copilot agent, the analyst agent, will start to might ask you some clarifying questions before it starts to proceed, and you'll have to obviously answer it. And then it will start to process Python coding. So you don't need to be a data scientist in order for you to actually start to get a report back from this analyst agent. So you'll start to see its workings out. If there's any failures, if there's any errors that it's coming across, it will try and overcome it, and you will be able to see the process of how it's done it. So any data scientists on call today, you'll be able to see its workings out. And then at the end, it will provide you a very in-depth report that you can provide back to whoever you need to. It won't be instant like if you had to use Microsoft Word for Copilot. It won't be within seconds. It might take a minute or two because it's doing deeper reasoning. But that's one of the agents that Microsoft has already created for you. So there are a few pre-built agents that have already been created that you can just start to plug in your resources. Right, so I'm going to start at beginner level, which is agent builder. There's different ways that you can create an agent. So I want to start off with this, which is more conversational, and then we'll go into the main part of Copilot Studio. So we are on copilotstudio.microsoft.com. We've got a little prompt box at the top. Created previous agents before, so it shows all my previous ones. There's pre-built templates, so you don't have to start from scratch. You just need to plug in your resources like I mentioned, and there's some learning materials at the bottom. Now, as I said, the first one is Agent Builder, which is basically having a conversation with Copilot to build your agent. So you don't need to be technical. You don't need to be a coder in order to create an agent. So in this case, I'm just asking Copilot to create me an agent for my team, just to provide some jokes on a Friday. I just want to show you the process and how quickly it is. All those bullet points are the instructions that I'm giving Copilot. So I'm just giving it information about the people that are in my team, where they sit, their job positions, anything funny about them, and just any certain quirks about them. And Copilot will start to give me some more questions back. On the right-hand side, it's starting to configure it. And on the left-hand side is that conversational piece. So Copilot is saying, what do you want to name it? Do you want to name it, I guess, Friday Funbot? I'm saying sure, and it's going to carry on that conversation. It's going to say, how do you want me to behave? And you'll have to say, do you want it professional? Do you want it friendly? What's your tone of voice as an organization? Maybe you can mention that within this conversation. It will then say, do you want to plug in like a website or something like that? You can only plug in a certain, like a public website in this conversational piece. If you want to plug in anything beyond that, like a Word document, SharePoint sites, etc., then you'll have to use the full Copilot Studio experience, which I'm going to go to next. So once you finish that conversation with Copilot, Copilot will then say, we're ready. Then your agent is ready. Click create, which I am. As long as you're happy on the right hand side, all of the instructions, click on create, and it will take you to the main Copilot Studio page. And as you can see, everything's already pre-filled based on that conversation you've had. So the name is already pre-filled, Friday Fun Bot, the description of what it needs to do, the instructions, etc. Okay, so I just wanted to show you Agent Builder. I would say if you're new at creating agents, then start off with having a conversation with Copilot to create it for you. And then you can start to create it from scratch, which is my other example. So this is more specifically around recruitment, and I've created an agent for CVs. So I've named it CV Analyzer. I've given it a quick description as to what I want it to do to analyze CVs, highlight the top candidates, etc. And the instructions are it has to be very clear. It doesn't need to be pages and pages long. I would say the shorter the better. Just get to the point, and in terms of what Copilot needs to do. So I'm just going to pause it there for a second, just so you can have a look at my instructions instructions. So I said, step 1, I want you to categorize the CVs. I want you to score them in 3 areas. I want you to score them against location, skilling, and years of experience. Total of 15 points. I then broke down 5 points each, but what does number 5, what does that mean? How are you going to, how will you determine 5 points for one candidate, etc.? So I've then determined for location, 5 points would be within the same city, etc. 0 points would be outside of the region. So I've explained that very clearly. And then I've said, put it into a table format if possible. Don't include any candidates over under 8 points, because I don't want to have a look at them. And afterwards, as long as I'm happy with it, then I want you to create me a email for the client, but do not include the scoring system. Just mention why we're bringing forward these candidates to that client. So don't be afraid to say, do not include this, not just include this, in order for it to avoid certain areas. Then we're going to move on to knowledge. Knowledge is where you plug in your resources. So this is where I've plugged in all of my CVs. You can plug in up to 500 files, as long as they are under 512 megabytes each. You can attach them. Whether it's a SharePoint site, then there's not really a limit where with files stored within that SharePoint site. Just bear in mind, if you've got thousands of files stored in your SharePoint site, it is going to take a couple of hours, if not days, for a Copilot to really sift through all of it. So give it a little bit of time to process before you start to use it. Then I've clicked onto settings, and I've got, I'm under generative AI, and I've just toggled on deep reasoning. This is under preview at the moment. It might take a little bit longer for Copilot to respond back, but it'll give you a richer response as opposed to a chatbot response. So I do recommend turning that on as well. You can test it out before you actually deploy it onto your teams. So you test it out on the right-hand side. You can share it with your colleagues if you want to. So publish it first, and then we can go under those 3 little dots, which I don't know what they're called, and then share it with your other Copilot colleagues. Then we can go under channels. And there's loads of different channels that you can post it on. You might not be able to see all of these if you don't have the main Copilot Studio license and you've only got a normal Copilot license, but you still will be able to publish it on your teams if you've only got a Copilot license. So I'm publishing it onto my teams, and then you can click on See Agent in Teams. So I've published it onto my teams, and I just want to show you how it looks. So before I play the video, you can see the 3 little dots on the left-hand side. My agent is now embedded within my teams. Just like I'm talking to a colleague, it will be within my team's chats. So I just want to show you the conversation that I had with this agent. So I just said, hi, saying, how can I help you? I said, what CVs are best for? And I've just attached a job posting for mechanical engineering. Your prompts do not need to be very specific within an agent, because you've already put those instructions when you were building it. So it understands what it needs to do. So I was pretty vague, just saying what CVs are best. I don't need to say, can you score it out of 15 again? I don't need to say any of that because it's already pre-built. So then Copilot looks at that job description and has provided me that table, has highlighted a couple of candidates, scored them out of those 3 areas that I mentioned, and has actually broken down as to why they are scored that certain. 2 of them live in Bristol. One of them lives in Bristol. One of them lives in Bath. The job posting was for a job posting in Bristol, which is why John Timothy's at the top. And then it says, do you want me to create an email? I said yes. It says to address to who? Who is the client's name? So his name is Ben Copilot, and it's drafted me an email. So you can attach the CVs. Obviously, you might want to anonymize the CVs, and that I would recommend creating a different agent for that. But you can connect agents together. So you can create one agent and attach multiple agents. It's called a multi-agent capability. So when you're asking it a question, it knows which agent to look at. So you don't have to feel overwhelmed saying, oh, now I need to go to this agent and ask it to now anonymize a CV. You can just speak to the same agent, and it would choose which agent to look at. So I thought this was quite relevant in terms, I'm sure you've got a lot of CVs to go through to see which ones are best suited for certain clients. So you can be as specific as you want to when you're creating your agent as to, it might not be the same specifications of what I've just mentioned. You might have a different tone of voice that you might want Copilot to create you an email in a certain way. And then you can just mention that within your general instructions when you're building it. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go through on my side in terms of how to create an agent quite easily. My top tip would be test it out, please. So when you are creating an agent, don't just deploy it onto your teams and start using it. Test it out when I mentioned when you're in the actual Copilot Studio interface, and ask it questions just like how you would once you deploy it. And if you don't feel like you're satisfied with Copilot's response, 99% of the time is because you need to refine your instructions. Okay, so don't be afraid to say, do not do this. Please only use British English language, etc. So I'm going to pass it back to Kan or Vanessa. If you've got any questions, then that's the
Very
end of
good.
my
I
presentation.
must I was impressed very much at how quickly it was to build the agents and how they all understood like natural language processing and communication. How accurate do you find the results of that CV reviewer agent of yours?
I would say it's pretty accurate depending on what information is within that CV as well. So
Yep.
obviously, if there are things that are missing, then Copilot gets a little bit confused because some CVs are quite, there's things that are missing, unfortunately. So it depends how informative these CVs are in order for Copilot to give me the best response, I would say.
Okay, good. A good answer.
Yeah.
Just one more question before I know Kan wants to show us a few things. Could you actually have an agent that could then extend, like link maybe through an API to an external CRM or ATS system to go and have a look at candidates on there to then determine which would be the best ones of an existing database as opposed to a whole bunch of CVs?
Yeah, so yes, you can do that. You will need the Copilot Studio license. You cannot
Okay.
do it within your Copilot license. Although Copilot Studio is included within the Copilot license, it won't be able to do what you just asked. If you want to plug in third parties like a CRM, for example, like Dynamics or Salesforce, etc., it will need more premium connectors, which is basically the Copilot Studio license.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I had a conversation with Microsoft last week about those connectors and stuff as well, Angela. I'm waiting for some clarifications on how it works and so on. So as I get that information, anyone who's joined this event, I'll kind of publish it. But in the meantime, I just wanted to kind of take your focus back onto the agents. I've built a few agents. I use agents quite often on my day-to-day basis. We share these agents amongst the team. Particularly for me, it's the marketing side of things that I use because it takes up the most amount of my time to come up with information and pieces for our marketing team to put out on LinkedIn. But also things like trying to sift through Microsoft pricing, which is a pain in the posterior.
Yeah, sorry, I see that
lightly.
we just got a question in the chat about that, which is how much is the Copilot Studio license? So if you want to give us a demo, you could maybe try that.
So I call it the Giacom pricing agent because I use data coming in from Angela's company to find this information. So how much does Copilot cost? So I've programmed the agent to kind of come up with pricing on the monthly, the annual, monthly, and kind of the annual upfront commitment. There's no monthly commitment, unfortunately, with Copilot, but you can see here it's building out the pricing available for different SKUs. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is the first two at the top. So it's either £227.20 plus VAT or £24.26 at the moment plus VAT for new licenses. So that's the current rates.
Okay.
So this takes data from CSV files that it's got access to within a SharePoint site. and pulls together the information from a commercial perspective. Obviously, charity pricing slightly lower. Again, if I wanted charity pricing, I'd say, can you give me the charity pricing? Because by default, the agent is programmed to give me the commercial pricing. I've also got a Kan bot, right? And Kan bot has been aptly named with my name. The reason it does that is it's been programmed to think like me. So I sat there with Microsoft Word and the dictator function and spoke to it about how I think. I first started off by saying, can you ask me questions on GPT and Copilot to kind of try and get a set of questions that I can talk about to tell the agent who I am and how I think. I then summarized the Word document into a acceptable format and converted it into instructions, which now this Copilot agent has. I've also uploaded it to documents containing the entire script that I read out, as well as things like, our brand identity, our brand colors, our products and services that we sell as a company, and things about Microsoft 365. So I can ask it, for example, give me 10 thought posts, and it will generate some ideas for LinkedIn-based thought posts that I can post. I'll then refine it if I want, and then go on and kind of publish those. Depends on, like, for example, it's picked up here that I used to like Dragon Ball Z. So there you go. So that's through the history of Kan's fascination with certain things that it's been fed information on.
And can you make multiple different agents?
I can, yes. So you can. There's no limit to the number of agents that you can create. So obviously, from here, I would take one of these, put it in, and say, kind of give me the full version of this. Well, I'm not going to do that right now, but I'll show you the other question. So here, this is another one. So Microsoft 365 newsletter bot. I'll go and show you the back end of this one as well. So this one, for example, looks at all of the Microsoft feeds, picks up all of the updates that there are for certain apps that we're interested in. So I've told it just look for the things around these apps, and then kind of look at a few more sources. By the way, there's a limit on the number of live websites you can use on Microsoft 365 Copilot agents. It is currently limited to 4. So you can have 4 external websites, but you can have an unlimited number of kind of, SharePoint sites and documents that you can upload as per Angela's description earlier. So this particular bot uses both live external websites as well as internal SharePoint sites and some documents based on our kind of, products and services. Again, any of these bots can always be updated. So once you create it, you can go in and re-edit them and make them a bit better. The agent that Angela spoke about earlier, which was the analyst agent, I did something very quickly while we were talking. So this is a chat that I had with it previously, which was on the screen when I started sharing my screen. But I uploaded a sample financial data set to it. It then went through, did all the Python coding. Obviously, what I said was, can you make sense of this document for me? And then it came up with, this is what the summary of this document is. So this document, and I'll just bring it into view for a second. Here we go. So this is sample data that I downloaded for different countries, different things, regions, etc., products and sales figures and so on. And it came up with this information for me as a summary of that spreadsheet. I can then ask it to compare the profitability against the regions, which I did do. So it's asked me what I want to do next. And then it came up with all of this information here and this nice little giraffe. So this is the analyst agent that Angela spoke about. Now, I haven't used the researcher agent. Angela, have you?
I haven't used it. However, what it is when you're just comparing like your documents with maybe market research, and again, it will provide you a report to compare both of them together. You could just do internal documents as well, but that could save you a lot of hours by collecting information together.
And it uses deep reasoning, right? So that agent, yeah.
Same thing, yeah, similar to analyst, but obviously on a researcher perspective.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to quickly show you guys was how these agents can be modified or created. So there's two functions here on Teams. So this is within Teams, by the way. You can do this on the web version as well. But within Teams, you can see there's a get agent. So when you publish the agents that you create from Microsoft Copilot Studio, they pop up in here. You can then add them into your chat here. And you can see there's a few that have been published here. And a few that are kind of created by Microsoft. So like the prompt coach that teaches you how to make prompts that are more effective, the visual creator that helps you make animations and videos, as well as pictures, researcher and analyst. So you can go create agents by clicking on create agents. You can see that it comes up with this screen. Obviously, you can do that by prompting it to create the agent like Angela showed you, or you can do it by the configuration side of it. Again, this is a different interface into the same thing that Angela said, but the Copilot Studio version is a bit more advanced. To edit any of the agents that you have that you created through Teams, you go into here, you click on My Agents, and then you can actually edit any of them through here. So that's how you see all of the instructions that I gave CanBot to kind of think like me, all of the documents that I've given it in terms of, this is what we do and this is who I am. These are a few websites to look for latest up-to-date trends and news, basically. And all of that has been detailed within this instruction set here. So that's CanBot. So yeah, and I can actually, if I go into there and go into agents, I can actually share this agent with anyone in the organization or any specific users I want to. Right now, CanBot shared, newsletter bot shared with everyone, so they can access it and use it. So as long as I copy and paste this and give it to one of the other members of staff, they can then easily access that tool. And whenever I update it, it gets updated for them as well.
Just bear in mind, if you do share it, it will need to be to other Copilot users. If they don't have a Copilot license, that's fine, but they will be charged on a pay-as-you-go basis. So they would need to be set up pay-as-you-go. So every time they communicate with that agent that maybe Kan has shared, they'll be charged. So just bear that in mind. It can't just be to everyone in the organization who doesn't have Copilot.
Yeah, 100%. Luckily for us, we do have everyone on Copilot. So yeah. So coming back to all of that, that's all great. There are other Copilot instances within Microsoft 365, and one of them that I created was the CV Analyzer document. So again, I haven't trained it very much at the moment. I've only trained it to find the name, email, phone number, and education summary from any CV that I track at it. And this is using that Power Automate thing where you can kind of automate processes. So it could be that Power Automate picks up a CV, puts it into a document share. This then picks it up and then analyzes it and chucks the information into one of your Microsoft lists or any other document that you wish. So I'm just going to run a quick test. I've got a few CVs to hand that I've downloaded. So bear with me while I drag one across. And I'm quite conscious that we are 3 minutes over schedule at the moment, but I thought this is very interesting to show you guys. Drag and drop. This is a CV for someone who's applied for a job. It'll analyze it and it will identify the education history, the phone number, and there you go. So as you can see, that's the name, that's the phone number, that's the email address, that's the education history. I can train it on any number of CVs, so I'll take another one which looks slightly different, and it'll do the same thing. So the more training material you've given it, the better it is at kind of finding out that information. So here it's got education, but again, this doesn't say it's education, but it says certifications. So it's clever enough to know that that is also their education history. So again, I can set it to find anything I want in here. And this can be part of a Power Automate automation that goes in and does stuff. So one of the things I'm working with Microsoft to do at the moment is to see CV comes into a CV's inbox. This picks it up, chucks it in here, grabs all the information and puts it in. And you can also kind of try and train it to do other things like compare CVs to job descriptions and so on. Anyway, that's the end of all of that. I hope that has been eye-opening, to say the least. There is an endless amount of possibilities that you can do with your Microsoft products. It's just as how good your imagination is, unfortunately. So my imagination only stretches as far as marketing and price comparisons and stuff. But of course, you guys are the day-to-day users. We do work with recruitment agencies, so we know some of the processes, but we don't know every single thing that you guys would use an agent for. So we're welcome to kind of having those discussions now. Over to you, Vanessa, for the hard questions.
So, I mean, the feedback is really good. I mean, everyone's enjoying it. The problem is that, we have found a lot of recruiters that they're not sitting inside, as an in-house team in a big corporation where they're already paying for the licenses. Then it becomes more for the person to, spend for the Copilot license. So is there any time do you think Microsoft's roadmap where they're going to make the Copilot that people can access as part of maybe the lower tier kind of packages that people already pay for without having to spend extra amounts on their Microsoft license?
I mean, Microsoft Copilot. Sorry,
No,
do you want to go? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I was saying Microsoft has two versions of Copilot. You have the free version, just like the free ChatGPT, and you have the paid version, just like the paid version of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
The difference in pricing is very small between the ChatGPT Pro license and the Copilot license. Of course, for that extra £5 or £6 that you're spending on a Copilot license, you get a whole lot more value for money, if that makes sense, considering all of the other features that you get with it. So whereas with the GPT, you're kind of more limited to a certain subset of features that you have. The free version of Copilot is accessible through the web version, as well as on your Edge browser, like here. You will have access to Copilot Chat, which is in a sense like ChatGPT. You won't have the work tab, you'll only have the web tab, but you can ask it questions. And this, obviously, unlike ChatGPT, does not train the models. It is safeguarding your data and stuff, so no one else can probably get a copy of your data in the future.
Okay. And
that is available to anyone with a business basic and upwards.
So when you go and use the paid version, and then you were showing, how do you take the CVs and the job description, or you wanted to create an agent to kind of put the CVs into some kind of like passing order, and these are the top 10%. Does it have any kind of like internet integration there, so it can go and have a look and see what else could it find, something that's similar, those kind of things? Or does it stay completely within your Microsoft kind of ecosystem?
Do you mean
web browsing?
Yeah, you can turn on web browsing, so it can go out to the internet and find other jobs. For example, if you had a job posted for this, it can go out and find other jobs that are on the internet. Obviously, it's not going to find candidates on the internet.
No. I have tried that before. We've got a question coming through on the chat, and it says, Pia wants to know, with the examples that you've done in this session, are they free or were they paid for ones?
They were paid for ones.
Yes, everything was the paid version. We didn't do the free version. The free version is very limited to kind of things that you can do outside of the Microsoft environment, basically.
Okay. Brilliant. All good.
Just one thing to add, because a few people has already asked about the Copilot Studio standalone license. That you only need one license for the whole company, and you can create agents and share it with everybody within the company with 25,000 messages a month. So you could add limits. Maybe certain departments can use it more than others, etc. If you feel like, well, I don't feel like my organization is going to use that many messages a month to communicate with the agents, then maybe start off with pay as you go, which is kind of attached to your free version, but obviously you'll be charged every time you use an agent, and it might actually end up being a little bit less than the full license itself, because it charges from 1 penny a message all the way to like 5-6p a message, depending on how much deep reasoning it needs to give that message, give a response back. But it might not end up being £200 a month. It might end up being £30 a month. So maybe start off with pay as you go, and then if you're using it quite a lot, move over to the Copilot Studio license if you don't want the full experience of Copilot that we mentioned on our previous webinars.
Just to put a differentiation between Copilot Studio and Copilot for Microsoft 365, the difference is Copilot Studio is purely for kind of agent creation and stuff like that, the license costs about £300 per month, and it's for the organization, I believe, right, Angela? So that can be shared amongst everyone in the organization. It gives you access to 25,000 credits, roughly, I think 25,000 credits a month that can be used across the spectrum of your users. So whereas with the Copilot for Microsoft 365, you get 25,000 credits per user per month, plus obviously integration across the entire Microsoft stack, which you don't have on Copilot agents, unless of course you build an agent that does all of the stuff that you want it to do, because that is also possible.
Just one last question also in the chat. How often do these agents go wrong? So I don't know if it means go wrong or go rogue, or, I mean, it's not Hollywood, but I mean, is it continuous training that you need to be doing?
I mean, the other day
there
I
definitely
had
needs to be an editor. There needs to be somebody that's constantly looking back at it and refining it, because sometimes it might not understand your intention behind those instructions. So you have to refine your instructions. There is a debug mode that you toggle on. Obviously, you don't want to keep it toggled off, which obviously helps with any kind of like lag time, etc. But this is why I was drilling down on just take your time when creating it and refine your instructions.
Okay, no, that's good. Do they have like a GPT store like you get in like other examples where other people have built GPTs and shared them, and you can kind of just share your knowledge?
Yes.
That's good.
So it's not the same as that, but you have you know where I said get agents? It's got agents that are developed by other people. More in the lines of kind of developers and stuff that who have created these agents, and I'm thinking things like, you know, DocuSign integrations, you know, Salesforce integrations, and so on. I just thought I'd run this quick bot, you know, of changes that are upcoming and changes that are just released. I mean, there's a whole load of changes that got released over the past 2 weeks for Microsoft Copilot. So there's a lot of things happening. So everything is possible. There are things new every day. So let's go have a quick look at Get Agents. I think they've meddled around with where you actually go. Angela, where do I go again? Because this is
sorry,
changed.
I was just replying back to here. Where are we going? Where do you want to go?
I want to go see all of the other available agents. Now it's changed since I last looked at it.
Your
there
agents?
was a place like more agents. Where's that?
Your agents or?
No, the generally available
Publicly
agents,
available
like, you know,
ones.
public ones like Salesforce integrations. You know, there's so many others previously. They've just
you
changed
probably have
this
to go
out.
on copilotstudio.microsoft.com, because this is more of like a user-friendly interface. But if you want to look at the full
Yeah, let me try and
portfolio, you'd have to
build
go
that
on
up.
the
Yeah.
So as Kan's doing that, I was just about to reply to you, Pierre. So how often would you want to check up on it? So it depends on those errors, etc., just to make sure that everything's teed up in your agent building. It depends how complex your agent is. If you're plugging it into like third-party applications with API connectors, you would want to maybe have a look at it a little bit more often. Whereas if you're just plugging in a website, I would probably just say maybe once a month or so. So yeah, it depends. It depends on how complex your instructions are and what kind of knowledge you're plugging in as well. So it's not a specific. I can't give you a specific answer to that.
That was a good one, though, and it helped with that understanding. Okay, cool, guys. That was great.
And I think I found it.
Oh, well done. Okay.
So it's now moved into apps within Teams. So within Teams apps, you have all these agents that integrate into your workflow. So these are ones that have been created by third parties. So you can see some of the ones that are listed here. It does expand quite a bit. I mean, when we first looked at it, there's only about 10 or 15 of them. There's more coming out every day as these other companies put their integrations in. Like Asana's got an integration here, Trello's got an integration, Dropbox has one, Confluence has one. Going down, I did see Salesforce had one. I think Freshworks had one, TeamViewer has one, SAP has one, and so on. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different ones.
Nice. Cool.
Oh, sorry, that's my phone. Apologies. Okay, excellent. Right. Any other questions? I can open the mic for anyone who wants to speak. So if anyone wants to ask questions directly, please raise their hands and we will unmute you to talk.
Good. I think that it showed some nice user cases there. It showed that you sometimes don't always have to go out and be spending, amounts on software. I think it's just having the technical know-how in order to be able to build the agents and making sure that you've got them correct, which takes a little bit longer. And I think people are nervous about not having those skills in-house and who should be doing them. And maybe it's just sometimes easier to pay someone who's got a team of people doing this as opposed to having to build it yourself. I think that's going to be the crossroads, which you're going to find a lot of people sitting at.
No,
Yeah,
I
I mean, it
agree.
is incredibly time consuming to do these things and kind of test and kind of reiterate and so on. So although, it has the power for you as an individual to go out there, grab it and do it. It takes some skill, understanding, etc. So that's where people like Vanessa come in, who do this for organizations on a regular basis. Of course, we enable people to go out and do this ourselves, but we don't really sit with users and create agents for them. So yeah, the final part in this was around how do I call it, the future, right? So looking at Copilot and looking at the last 6 months, we've run between me and Angela about 7 Copilot sessions over the last 6 to 7 months. When we first started off the Copilot sessions back in December, it was a completely different beast. You didn't have agents, you didn't have all these integrations and so on. So the rapid pace at which these things evolve means that you're probably going to get more and more agents coming into the Copilot environment that are already built for these scenarios. So it may be that you strike lucky and you got an agent that Microsoft has already built for you. But again, one of the things I also find with Copilot is that you have to use it quite often for it to kind of keep learning and doing stuff the way you want to do it. So if you are going to buy Copilot, then be invested in it and then kind of try and use it as much as you can, because the more you use it, the more ROI you get from it and so on. So one of the things is user adoption in any of these things, whether it's a CRM system or whether it's an AI tool, is key to kind of reaping those benefits. Just buying it and leaving it alone isn't going to kind of give you that return that you want.
I think that's happening in a lot of big companies, that the company's paying for everything, all the bells and whistles, and no one seems to be using it. They're like, oh, we got access, but we haven't tried it yet. And I get frustrated because I'm like, I want the access so I can test it out. And yeah, you're getting it for free and you're not doing anything with it.
All right. So Candice was asking a question about whether there was any webinars around the marketing specific requirements. Candice, you're one of our current clients. I will reach out to you directly. We can obviously help you out with creating a Candice bot if you like, or a TSSI bot.
Sounds good. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, excellent. So thank you again from myself for everyone who's attended the series. It's been quite a phenomenal 5 sessions, I guess. We've gone through every single inch of Copilot that currently exists in the market. Angela, I'd like to really thank you for all of your patience and putting together all of these kind of examples and stuff, and obviously putting up with me and all my questions. And Vanessa, thank you for joining us on all of these sessions and obviously helping us promote the event. So again, guys, if you want to ask any questions, reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I do not bite, I promise, and I don't try and sell things. So, we got a last minute question. I will unmute you if you like. Here we go. Oh, I raised my hand now. Who was that? Karen? Yep, you can unmute yourself now if you want to talk.
Sorry, that was an error. I just wanted to thank you for your time.
No
and
worries.
Angela and Vanessa for facilitating this. Sorry, was an error. I didn't have a question. Thank you so
No
much.
worries. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a great day
Thanks,
and rest of the week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, I think I need to do